All right, y'all, welcome back to the Arms channel. Okay, so you guys might have seen back in March, I had my rifle explode. So, of course, I'll put in the clip here so you guys can get some context if you haven't seen it already. So what I kind of want to do today is give y'all an update on everything. Kind of an update as far as how it went down, an update as, you know, to my responses with the companies, their sort of feedback and those procedures. I would say at this point, everything is pretty much resolved, and I'll kind of talk about all of that. But as far as the kind of general background, so if you guys didn't know, the rifle was a POF, a Patriot Ordnance Factory P415 Edge pistol, which was eventually SBR'd. Now, it's about a $2,200 rifle, so pretty expensive rifle. Again, not really something you would like to happen to a rifle like that. But again, we'll kind of go a little bit more in depth as to what I think about that specifically. And on that rifle, we had a Neotech, we had a Griffin armament suppressor, we had a Lancer magazine. Those things don't really factor into this, to be honest. But yeah, I'll kind of talk about the main culprits. So the ammunition itself was purchased from Ammo Valley. It was some remanufactured 223. Again, kind of a red flag right away. And that's kind of what I was thinking initially too when everything went down. And you know, I've been shooting remanufactured ammunition for, I don't know, almost 5-6 years at this point. It's probably like 70% of the ammo I shoot. 9mm, maybe not so much. And of course, like 7.62, also not really a thing. But yeah, with 223, about 70% of the ammo I shoot is remanufactured. So I've been shooting that kind of ammo a lot. Of course, I've had malfunctions with that rifle previously, and I would probably chalk up like 90% of them to the actual ammunition itself. So as far as the rifle, it's a quality rifle. It was a great rifle. Really didn't have a whole lot to complain about. The build quality was fantastic. Machining was fantastic. Even the features on it, there's a lot of features on it that a lot of ARs didn't have, which is why I was so stoked to get a rifle like that and kind of, you know, make that build. So this incident happened on March 5th. It was a Sunday. I was just going out shooting. It was mostly going to be like a recording session. So I was going to record a few shorts that day, which I still ended up recording most of them, to be honest. So yeah, honestly, this whole incident was more of like an inconvenience. I know I could have gotten like seriously injured. But again, like with me having like a military background, especially with an infantry background, you do get kind of desensitized to, like, if you wanted to call it like a near death experience. Cause, yeah, I don't know. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it blew the bolt carrier or the bolt release, you know, into my bicep, and that wasn't really too comfortable. But that was about it. I was lucky enough not to have a whole lot of damage, which you guys have kind of commented on as far as like me taking off my shirt. It was just a reason for me to take off my shirt in that video. But yeah, I was checking for damage. There wasn't anything, so all cool. Again, then it kind of ends up getting chalked up to an inconvenience and me getting a little bit upset as to what caused this issue. And it's still not that clear, to be honest. You know, I was potentially thinking maybe like a weird out of battery sort of fire where the bolt wasn't, you know, locked all the way. And, you know, as a result, when it kind of, the pressure went off, maybe it kind of let some pressure escape into a bolt carrier group. But looking at the ammunition itself, and I'll put up some pictures over here so you guys can kind of see, this is the aftermath. And I'll kind of scroll through a few of these. So yeah, the bolt carrier, the bottom of the bolt carrier just blew out of the magazine well, which in the video, which is why you'll see the magazine basically explode into a bunch of different pieces. And then looking at the casing itself, it looks like the casing was ruptured. And this will happen if you remanufacture the ammunition too much. At the bottom, it just gets really weak, especially at a specific point. So I'm thinking what happened that caused this entire thing is that round went off. The casing didn't have the structural integrity, so it ended up getting a casing rupture on the bottom, and as a result, you know, path of least resistance kind of thing. All that pressure ends up going and escaping out of the back of the round. So of course that extractor ends up getting, you know, jacked up, but then all that gas ends up escaping into the bolt carrier group. And again, it just path of least resistance, which for this, I guess, just happened to be downward for whatever reason. I've heard a couple people say this exact thing happened to them. So maybe it's not really a fault of POF as far as having any weak spots in the bolt carrier group specifically, but maybe, when you're talking about these kinds of malfunctions or these kinds of catastrophic malfunctions, I should say, that's generally kind of what you'll see just based off of the general layout of the AR and how those gases will end up trying to sort of, leave the weapon. Now, I was trying to think maybe it was potential that with that out of battery, and a lot of people were saying it's not as feasible. And again, with ammunition, that's really what you'll see most of the time is the ammunition being the failure of this, which if you've seen like other channels like Kentucky Ballistics, it's the ammunition that ends up causing this, catastrophic malfunction. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of what we saw here. Now, so again, a little bit of an inconvenience. I reassessed, everything looked fine. The suppressor was fine, luckily. Most of the accessories were looking pretty good. The lower receiver also looked pretty good, like maybe some scratches. I couldn't really tell if the structural integrity was compromised on the lower receiver, which I was concerned about, again, because it was a short-barreled rifle, and that's the serialized item is that lower receiver. So I was like, damn, I really hope I can salvage this lower receiver because, I don't want to have to buy another rifle or buy another pistol and then SBR it again. But something interesting happened with that, with the ATF, which I didn't expect. And I'll talk about that later on. Okay, so yeah, all that happened. I'm like, okay, what's the issue? Reached out. I got a bunch of different feedback on Reddit and also YouTube. And then I reached out to the companies, let them know what happened, sent pictures, sent the videos. The video was pretty nice to have that. And I was like, this happened. I would say right away, the ammunition manufacturer, Ammo Valley, hit me up, and they're basically, no questions asked, they were going to refund me the entire price of the rifle. Pretty big red flag. I also noticed that their email addresses had Freedom Munitions email addresses, which if you guys aren't familiar with that brand, they did a lot of remanufactured ammunition. So I don't know if they rebranded or something, but that was something I noticed when I was emailing the employees. But yeah, so they agreed to completely refund the rifle, which I'm not complaining about. It's like, sweet, cool. I appreciate you kind of taking the responsibility because you probably know that this was a result of the ammunition, judging by what I sent and potentially what other customers might have experienced as well. And they did. They also refunded me on the rest of the ammunition that I didn't use. They got the lot number for the 223 because I ordered like 1,000 rounds and I didn't really use there was like 700 of it-ish that I didn't shoot. So they refunded me the rest of that ammunition on top of the amount of the rifle to include the tax stamp and everything. So yeah, it was pretty solid on them. Pretty good customer service. Didn't really have any issues. I think that got resolved probably within like 2 or 3 weeks. It was very, very quick. And again, I was surprised, but again, it does concern me a bit that they were just like, no questions asked, we got you. So can't complain. Again, customer service was on point. Luckily, I didn't get any more injured. Hopefully, people who purchase their ammunition don't have any, worse injuries. Hopefully, they don't experience this at all. And hopefully, it was just a fluke on, the ammunition. But again, some things to consider, which made me I'm definitely going to stay away from that company, basically, at this point. But yeah, so rifle, all covered. But again, I did want to send it in to POF to get their, professional assessment. So I started the RMA process. I sent it in, had to send everything, the broken magazine, the suppressor, all my tax forms and stuff, tax stamp forms, and I sent it to them. I don't know how long the process was. Okay, so I immediately hit him up on Instagram. So on March 5th, I hit him up on Instagram, basically saying this happened. And they replied the same day, which was, good on their parts. They replied the same day, and they said, shoot an email to customer service so we can start the RMA process and get it evaluated. And I pretty much did that right away. So early March, it didn't get resolved until late May. So just about 3 months for the RMA process. And, you know, I called them, I was trying to get updates. Basically what they were saying is they just had a backlog. They're like, we have 8 weapons in front of you. I'd call again like 3 weeks later. We have 8 weapons in front of yours. I'm like, damn, okay. You figured they would like front load this one because it was kind of in pretty rough shape. I got an update on my RMA form eventually saying, yeah, the weapon is, you know, it's disassembled and there's very obvious damage to it. But I was working with them, I was giving them calls, and they ended up getting it, assessing it. And I'll try and post the RMA notes so you guys can kind of see what, you know, what it looked like from my end. But I ended up talking to a couple of different people. At one point, the customer service rep changed. Not sure what that was. Didn't really cause too much lapse of communication. The first person wasn't as helpful, I'll be honest. But second person was pretty responsive when I would call, and, you know, she would immediately go and get updates, which was very helpful for me. But yeah, she was like, yeah, they're looking at it. Basically, they can't repair anything, which, yeah, I kind of understood that. You know, I wasn't expecting them to repair it necessarily. But she's like, yeah, it's a total loss. At this point, we've contacted the ATF. They say that we're going to have to destroy it. And I'm like, damn, that's so whack. So I was like, okay, so, you know, what are the options right now? And basically what we came down to is they would be able to completely replace it. And the processing of this replacement was pretty interesting. So they would be able to replace it. I would have to pay a discounted price. So as opposed to, you know, the MSRP or whatever, like $2,200-ish, it was going to be $800 plus tax, which, you know, really not that bad. I wasn't really concerned about the money aspect already because, again, the ammunition company had already kind of covered the cost of the rifle. So I was like, okay, discounted rifle price, you know, I'll agree with that. But another issue was Washington State, in this whole process, Washington State banned assault weapons. And I'll every time I mention this, I'll do the air quotes because it's just nonsense. But they banned assault weapons, and basically what that means is any semi-automatic rifle can't be brought in, can't be purchased or sold. But they worked with the POF, worked with the ATF and the Attorney General to be like, yo, is it cool if we send replacements for this rifle that had exploded? And they're like, yeah, that's cool. You can send a replacement. So they were able to send me, you know, from Arizona, send this, you know, rifle or this firearm to me in Washington. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But even cooler is I didn't have to go to like an FFL. I didn't have to go to a dealer because it was a full replacement, and I had already done all the paperwork and everything and owned the previous one. They were able to ship this new one directly to my house, which was a first for me. And I was kind of surprised that the ATF would even like be cool with something like this. But yeah, they sent it directly to my door. All it required was an adult signature. And I'll have a video of kind of that, and I'll put it up in a little bit. But yeah, that was super bizarre to me. So I was like, dang, so this thing is going to have to get destroyed. Like, I'm not going to be able to purchase a replacement anyway. I know you're offering me this discount, but like, what can I do? And they worked with the ATF and the Attorney General. And within a week, they were like, yeah, if you give us the payment details, we can run this transaction and ship this replacement out to you. Well, which was, you know, pretty, I didn't expect that, but I was obviously pretty pleasantly surprised. But I'll put that video up right now, at least like the little clips I got of actually me getting that new firearm in the mail. I'll put that up right now so you guys can kind of see that. Yep, so there it is. You up. A little bit longer of a box for kind of what's needed, I guess, but they probably don't have a huge delineation in their boxes if they can just fit all the different types of guns in the same box. Okay, yeah, and this is pretty much it right here. Super odd to be seeing this because, again, like, I normally go to like a gun store and it's still in like the plastic and stuff. And you need to like open it up and get all the serial numbers written down. But yeah, I'm going to have to spray paint this one again, but okay, cool. Yeah, there wasn't really much of a hang up. Like, once they got the clarification from the Attorney General and the ATF, I think they were waiting on some barrels and they got them in pretty quick. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I do wonder. Okay. Is this a... Okay, and a 30 round magazine. So, I mean, I guess, again, the magazine was a replacement magazine for the 30 rounder that I also legally owned, right? And again, the reason why this is like so kind of nice for me is because, again, if you guys don't know Washington gun laws, they recently passed an assault weapons ban, which basically means like any sort of AR or really like semi-automatic rifle is kind of a no-go to imports. You can still own them if you had them previously, but you can't buy them, you can't sell them, you can't import them. So being able to get this shipped from POF, located in Arizona, was kind of cool. That's why they needed to kind of go through those channels, the ATF and the Attorney General. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Again, it's like pretty much an exact replacement, so I can't really complain. Now, I don't know if I've just been getting used to a bullpup, but I gotta say, this trigger is like really, really nice. Like barely any reset at all. And just like immediate break. So it says it's got a 4.5 pound trigger. Feels about right, but again, like there's no like kind of mushiness, and it just breaks very cleanly. Like, yeah, definitely one of the best triggers I've ever felt in a rifle in general. And that is what we have right here. So I've already spray painted it again. Kind of just slowly doing another kind of build for this. I took all the other stuff, like the suppressor and the EOTech, and put it on my Desert Tech. But yeah, I mean, this is the replacement, and it's just weird to actually, again, have that shipped to my door, but you know, it's all resolved. So my thoughts on everything, again, bit of an inconvenience at first, but I'm like, damn, okay, this is going to be kind of tricky. But the ammunition manufacturer covered the cost of the rifle, so I'm like, okay, I'm not really too upset. Still a little bit of an inconvenience, but you know, it is what it is. It's just crappy ammo. It's just kind of luck of the draw with, you know, remanufactured ammunition, I guess, which of course I'm not going to be buying that stuff anymore. So kind of learning points as well. But then POF saying, yeah, you know, it's complete loss, but we can give you a discount. And I'm like, well, damn, because Washington just banned this. And then they're like, yeah, we worked with the Attorney General and ATF, and you know, they were able to hook it up. So that's basically the overall kind of situation. Again, my thoughts on it. POF's a good company. You know, I didn't have a whole lot of luck with the first customer service rep, I'll be honest. Second one was on point. She was very good at communicating. She was working with these people, working with other members of the team to get me updates. And you know, I did have to like call her back and be like, hey, you know, what's the sit rep on this? What's the status? So it is what it is. I was probably going to end up doing that anyway. But yeah, she would be like, oh, you know, crap, here, I was going to call you, but let me go and ask this person. And she would get the answer right then. So as far as POF, great products. I know there was a lot of people kind of talking smack on them in the comments. POF really has some solid weapons. I got to say, like, again, just the quality compared to like stuff I've used even in the military, just the quality, the machining, the features, just the operation, the trigger, just a beautiful, beautiful rifle. Really not a whole lot I can complain about for the firearm itself. Customer service, a little shaky at first, was pretty well resolved. As far as the ammunition manufacturer, I don't know. I really hope that there aren't other people kind of going through this same issue. And hopefully, you know, that affected lot wasn't that comprehensive. But you know, when you have these really, really hot loads with these kind of, you know, imperfections in the casings, yeah, that's a recipe for a disaster. And there's probably going to be some lawsuits heading their way if, you know, they did have some more bad ammo going out. And the answer shouldn't be, you know, they fixed my issue and I'm okay, so, you know, everything's fine. That's not the answer. It's maybe you shouldn't be producing ammo if you're having this crap happening to these people, potentially with life-threatening injuries. And then you just kind of like, oh yeah, here, we'll cover the cost of that rifle. Yeah, like, just do better. Honestly, like, that's kind of disgraceful to be able to push out product like that and be okay with it without the proper quality control. Because these are, you know, little explosions with a lot of pressure, per square inch happening inside that weapon. And I was lucky that the POF was built so well because it contained the blast pretty much, ideally, as opposed to having all this, the receiver completely blow out, the barrel getting like launched off. It pretty much channeled all of that to the point of least resistance, which was that open area, which was the magazine well. And yeah, luckily I didn't really get any injuries, but that's more on POS parts and not so much the ammo manufacturer. So that is basically the updates. I know a lot of y'all were kind of asking. I will try and follow up to see specifically what POF said about it. They didn't leave any notes saying like what they believed was the cause of the thing, of the, the explosion. But I would imagine, especially since they were kind of like charging me, not like the ammunition manufacturer where they're like, yeah, we'll cover the cost like just right away. They're like, yeah, this is kind of crappy. We'll give you a discounted price and we'll kind of, work that issue so we can actually get it sent to you. So I think with that being said, it was probably the ammunition. And that was pretty much the general consensus on YouTube and also on Reddit. So yeah, I guess that's the lesson. Don't purchase remanufactured ammunition. And if you do, either have a good rifle that can soak up that explosion or even just wear like a lot of PPE. I don't know. Basically, definitely reconsider it. I know it is cheaper, but you only have one life. And I know that's corny to say, but you can't necessarily count on your weapon soaking up that explosion as well as the POF did. And you might get, very, very injured. Kentucky Ballistics is kind of a good example. Bigger round for sure, a little bit more pressure. But again, you don't want to be toying with these kinds of things. So something to consider, something that I've learned for sure. But let me know what you guys think about everything. If there's something that something I'm missing, which is totally possible, but I think I've done a pretty decent amount of assessment on everything so far. But I'd like to hear your thoughts down in the comment section regardless. And hopefully I was able to give you guys a little bits of the answers. If you're looking on buying a POF, I would still recommend POF. If you're looking to purchase some ammunition from Ammo Valley, I would definitely steer away from them because, not the best luck with their ammunition. And I'm kind of a testament to that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Hopefully I answered your questions. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you all in the next one.